Hey guys, Jeff here, and I'm in the basement job. Today is subfloor day, which means we are going to be installing a different system this time, because today we are going all about the thermal brick. Now, I'm not going to go to the store and buy some pre-made product. I don't like overpaying for my jobs, right? So I'd rather integrate a couple different building materials to build my own subfloor system. I'm going to show you that system today. I'm going to show you my tips and tricks for getting a perfect job. If you're in the market to renovate your basement, then you're going to want to consider putting in a subfloor for a couple of different reasons. One of them is water management, another one is thermal management, because basements can be rather cold. We have them usually in the north climates, and they get extremely cold, and you can't sit down and enjoy yourself in a basement in a lot of cases. Today we're going to put a thermal brick on this floor, and we're going to do it cheap. It's about $1.50 a square foot to get the whole program done, which is about $1 a square foot cheaper than the competitors and the pre-built market. If you want to learn all your different options, then you can check out this video up here. Put a link in the video description. I did a video recently where I discussed 6 different products and the pros and cons of each of them. Sometimes the pre-built product is necessary, but here we have a big window and I can bring in 4x8 sheet goods, no problem. That's what we're going to work with today. First thing we got to do is clean things up. If you're a fan of the channel, you've seen how I install drywall, and I use the plastic and I use permanent marker to mark the studs. The problem with plastic on the floor is that it's in the way of keeping things clean. Okay, so we're going to get rid of that plastic now that it's redundant. So look at all the dirt. So here's the thing. It doesn't matter what system you put on the floor for subfloor. Every time you take a step, you're going to have a little bit of movement, and the air is going to move. And that air moving is going to grab dirt and throw it back into the atmosphere of the room. If you don't cut back the plastic, I know this, I'm being redundant, right? It seems obvious. If you don't cut it back, you're going to have a dirty basement for 2 years. So take the time. This is only here because when they're building a wall, they have to have a separation between the wood and the concrete. And because it's there, I've developed a system to make it valuable, turn it into more than just a vapor barrier. And now it becomes part of my marking system. As soon as you get that bottom row of screws on, it's just in the way and dirty. Can't even keep your site clean. Here we go, check that out. That is a lot of dirt. Now, there's 2 options. You can sweep and sweep and sweep and sweep, but all you're going to be doing is kicking around dust. The dust is going to settle again. Or you can go grab a vacuum and just vacuum the area. Okay, now let's introduce first product for our thermal break. We're using 4x8 foot sheets of Durafoam. This is a closed cell rigid insulation board. It is approved and designed for use on concrete floors as a vapor barrier and a thermal barrier. Foil back, vapor barrier, pretty green front, so you don't forget who it is. This is available in the building store. Comes 2 thicknesses, 3/4 and 1 inch. We went with the 3/4 because we're trying to be conscientious about the height for the stairs. When the house was built, they knew they were going to put a subfloor in, so they added a little bit of room. But they also wanted to put in engineered hardwood flooring down here. So we are going with a thermal concern only. This house is brand new. It has all the waterproofing features. It's also on the top of a hill, 200 feet to the closest water, built on sand drainage. It's just, water's not a problem here. Water finds its way into this house. It's because it sprung a leak somewhere in the house. The only consideration we have here is thermal brick. And what they do is they cut these boards in half and they use sleepers, and all of that is just not necessary. And you might want to tape your joints so they have a continuous vapor barrier. Makes it a little easier to work with if it's all taped together. The idea here is we're just going to do the whole row, and then we're going to start screwing down our OSB right on top. Now here's a great opportunity to learn a trick. That doesn't fit. And a lot of you right now are going, oh, that's awesome. How's he gonna cut around this mess? I don't wanna take time to measure and cut the angle and the piece. This kind of thing should be lickety split, right? There we go. Problem solved. We shouldn't even be using a measuring tape in this scenario. There we go. It is a lot easier once the next row is in, going all the way across, for me to then measure that one piece. Because there's 2 numbers I need. I need from here to here, and I need from the top of that to where the 4 feet over is. And so until I put the more of this panel down, it's hard to get that measurement. So it's easier just to move on, not worry about it. Here, that's an easier piece to install. Look at that. So that gap is 13.5. Because I cut it out of the same piece, it's exactly the fit, right? So whatever I cut off, as long as this is flush, is gonna be the right piece for the job. Here we go. So we're just gonna measure. I'm at 33.5. Okay, there's my spot right there. All right, and over here, 46.5. There's my spot right there. And then I'm just going to connect the dots. And the way this works, freehand cutting like this, because it's foam and it's simple. Put your knife where you start, and then you look where you want to finish. And your brain will do the job. Pretty darn close most of the time. Here we are. Now, we're all screaming because, hey Jeff, you didn't get rid of your plastic and your dirt yet. Right? Get over here, baby. All right. Here we go. Layer number 2. This is 5/8 OSB, tongue and groove. And we're going to stick the first piece right there in the corner, and we're going to leave just a tiny air gap all the way around the perimeter. Because like I talked about deflection, if this is making contact with the drywall, anytime someone walks in the area, you're going to hear a little rubbing sound. So try to give yourself just a little bit of a gap. All right, guys, here we go. Demonstrate my system. What you're going to want to do, 3/16 bit. Comes in the case with 2 3/4 inch screws. The new Tapcons have a pan head, and they use a T25 bit star head, okay? Really effective. The secret to know here is that you don't want too many of these screws. So this 4-foot sheet, I'm gonna put one here, 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 and here, okay? 4 screws. It's a lot. On a really large sheet, if your floor is flat, you can get away with 6. Not that big a deal. The idea here is you want to use a hammer, a little bit of hearing protection. Hearing is the one thing that apparently you don't get back. Now I have a drill driver that has a hammer drill function. It is a lot slower than a hammer drill. So spend the money. If you're going to put a subfloor in, you're going to spend a couple $1,000 on your subfloor. Go out and buy a $70 tool, for God's sake. Look how quick this is. Okay. There we go. Make sure you drive it right to the very tip of this. Check your screw length, make sure the bit's going in deeper, and then you clean the stone out. In this case, it's not part of the solution, it's part of the problem. There's too much debris with that particular combination. The head of the screw shears right off. You should get some resistance. This should be flush to buried. You can't have raised screws because then your flooring is going to have bumps and it's going to make noise when you walk. Okay, one more time in case you missed it. Ah, it's a long day sitting around on the floor. All right, that's simple. That's a subfloor. Now, there are other videos on the internet. I've got one with an old system that we use a dimpled membrane without insulation underneath 5/8. That works too if you have an older house, you have water concerns. But like I said, if you're not sure what kind of subfloor to use, make sure that you check out that other video. One more thing, when you're installing, always start with the tongue against the wall. That way, when you put your next sheet in, like I'm gonna do right now, I'll show you how to tap them together. You're not gonna end up damaging your subfloor. Have yourself a 2x4 and a hammer handy, because you can always throw them on the lead edge. Even with you sitting on the board, you can manipulate everything in its place. Do your best to get rid of all the gaps. It helps keep everything square. A small gap here changes direction, makes a big gap later. And rinse and repeat. Like this will go all day long, right? Here we go. There we go, guys. That's pretty much that simple. Make sure you put all of your one layer and then the next layer. This particular product is easily damaged, so make sure, try to just kind of do one thing at a time. You don't want to do all 1,200 square feet of your basement in the door foam and then start walking sheets of plywood in. Okay. Other than that, that's really all there is. Keep it tight, keep it square, and get it secured. And if you have a floor that has a lot more movement, one of the things you can do to deal with that is this. You can put a relief cut. If you have a floor and it ridges, you can come along, you can screw down your subfloor and you're sticking 1.5 inches off. Go get your skill saw, cut a relief cut right down the middle of this thing, and then screw it down really nice and tight. Movement is your enemy, because no matter what kind of flooring you have, if you have movement, you're gonna have problems. In this particular case, we're putting in engineered hardwood flooring. That video is coming up soon, but we have enough thickness between the insulation and the 5/8 that we can actually staple right through into this without having any difficulty. Okay, so just to give you a demonstration here, if you screw down this edge and this edge, you're gonna run into problems because OSB comes off the factory line and has this natural bow in it. You can see it up front. So you gotta screw the middle, or else when you put your flooring in, if you put your flooring in this direction, your planks, you're gonna have hump after hump after hump in your basement. And every time you walk, it'll be moving and deflecting and moving and deflecting. And it puts a lot of pressure on things. So the rule with OSB is simple. You screw down the middle, a couple of screws down the middle, and then you put a couple of screws on the tongue side. And the same with the next sheet and the next sheet and the next sheet. It flattens it out, it tightens your joints, and that'll give you a perfect floor every time. One more thing, when you're installing your flooring, finish a row and put your screws down the middle right away. Because every time you step on this, there's outward pressure. So you can do the whole basement and then go to screw, but you're gonna run into trouble because all that walking around while you're doing the work is pushing the gaps open. So do a row, tighten it up with a 2x4, throw in a few screws, and then move on to the next row. Because if you wait, you're gonna start screwing and you're all the way back here, you're gonna have 1/2 inch gaps in your floor. That'll drive you crazy. Listen, if you're renovating your house, there's a million ways to do just about everything. So if you've got questions about your project, consider joining our membership program. I'm actually designed a forum just for us so that we can have conversations. You can send me pictures and we can interact, and I can help you troubleshoot and solve questions for your house. Remember, there's no such thing as one way to do everything. There's multiple ways. There's no such thing as the best way. Every house is different. It's a unique patient. So the best solution for me is not necessarily the best solution for you. If you need that question answered, join membership and I'll help you come up with a solution for your project. Cheers till next time.